like a content specialist. There's a content specialist, or there's that person that comes in and tells you why you're doing it wrong, or you need to crack the code. And in 15 years, nothing's changed in that. So I promise I don't want to be that person today. I don't want to come in here and now all of a sudden give you the secret sauce when it comes to content for your organization. And what I mean by that is everybody has a different story to tell, and it all means something different to each and every one of you. So when you think about your content, you really need to get a little bit deeper into the starting points of what it is you're trying to communicate, who you're trying to reach, target audience. But mainly, and I'm going to kind of switch back and forth here on my presentation screens. It comes into defining your organizations, and when I started in public relations, not for profits were a huge part of our practice. Up in Hartford, we worked with a lot of different school boards, organizational groups that worked on health advocacy, healthcare awareness, issues awareness. And even at the time, I didn't fully, I was kind of new in my career, and so I kind of went along with it. But if I were to go back and start over and talk to a lot of those groups, I would absolutely get into defining yourselves as an organization. What I mean by that, Judy, can you switch over to, it doesn't look like I have screen sharing privileges yet. There's a way for me to get that. There we go.
Yeah, you should be good now. Thanks.
Gotcha. And so when we get to the who you are, the first place you guys want to start in is really in your mission, vision, core values, taglines, value proposition. These 5 features, like these are textbook. I mean, literally is a textbook that I'm kind of going out right now when I go to the technical features of this. Every one of these, you and your employees and your advocates should be able to go through and define on a regular basis. And what I mean by that is, your content should already be matching this. So when you kind of want to get out there and get creative and you start saying, oh, okay, happy Sunday, happy, Columbus Day, well, you're the Knights of Columbus. Okay, well, there's a big reason for you to be kind of celebrating Columbus Day. Or are you a group that maybe opposes Columbus Day? And that's where we start getting into breaking down these things. And most organizations and companies, I myself am there, it took me a long time to get to where I was fully comfortable defining each of these, right? And just to kind of go through them quickly, your mission really defines, obviously, the goals of the organization. Your vision is more long-term, where you're going to be. Those are always kind of the differences, and it's okay to not, fully have a comprehension of that. But if there's one thing you take away from this morning is go through, write down these five lines, and as an organization get together and, hey, Google's your best friend when it comes to all this. What are the best mission statements? What are the best vision statements? This is what I did with my team, and we just kind of pulled up, Disney World, Amazon, Microsoft, and we kind of went through. But this exercise helps you get a better understanding of where you are and where you're going, specifically in terms of your content. But more importantly, if your mission isn't, or if your organization isn't defined in this way, it's very hard to get a full grasp on your content. And that's my high soapbox on that one this morning, because really we're gonna now get into the content. But I thought this was important just to bring up for organizations, as you really shouldn't be defining content or placing it until you at least have a better understanding of what these things are. All right. And we did send out a workbook. Really, you could fill it out, kind of take notes on it, whatever. I'll probably, after this, I'll send out a completed version of it just in case, we move too fast or you missed something or you didn't have a chance to download it yet. But the first part of our content is really going to have to do with the customer journey or the contact journey, participant journey, whatever you want to call it. In marketing and sales, we call it the content journey. And we break it down into a few categories. First, it's, and when you talk about journeys, content hits people at different stages. So if you're pushing sign up today or donate to our cause, we really need you. We need, 5 days left, donate by Friday, and we're going to reach our goal. Well, if these people have never heard of you, they're really not going to give you any money, or they're really not going to care what it is that you have to say, unfortunately. And so that's just one example, but it's so important to understand that as you're developing content, you need to be thinking of where are these people as they're coming into the mix. Just because you put it on Facebook or send out an email doesn't necessarily mean that these people are so excited to hear from you, right? And so these are some of the kind of the main source or aspects of the journey that we try to focus on when I break this down with people. And you might have had a chance to read, I'll just kind of go through it, but one is they don't know you. This is probably about 99% of the people that receive your content. You have to consider each time that they don't know you, they never heard of you, and they don't care yet. Now, I know it's harsh. I'm not here to be a downer first thing in the morning, but I find this so fascinating because as I go in and I learn about the different passions of business owners, community leaders, and organization directors, it's clear everybody has a cause. They're very eager and passionate about what they do, but you got to remember, you can't just jump in and start all of a sudden, oh, we have Carla coming in. All right, I just admitted Carla. So as you're thinking of that, and go back to your mission, your core values, sometimes you're explaining just who we are. This is who we are, this is what we do, this is why it's important. Even just getting those things out in the beginning, or making sure that you refer to that if you'd like to learn more about us. Click here to learn more, things like that. But always assume that they don't know you, right? And then it gets a little bit easier. Once they do know you, you could kind of start building out a better content map of, okay, content for people that have heard of you. That's a little bit easier. You can have a little more casual relationships. Maybe they visited your site at some point, they've opted into something. Previous or current customers, absolutely different messages there when we look at the type of content. What you might say to somebody that's currently engaged with your organization or your business versus somebody that hasn't been. And then your referral sources. That's absolutely another key aspect. And that, this journey could be absolutely modified for any organization or business. These are some of the main ones I always like to share with people. But again, it just makes you think, okay, wow, if you are going to be posting something or sharing something or emailing something out, sending it out, whatever, always consider where they are, because somebody that knows you versus somebody that doesn't, or maybe did know you at some point, will receive that message differently. And so it might be necessary to modify your content to fit those key areas. Okay, everyone with me? I see we had some people jump in. Let's just get a quick hi in the chat there. Let me see you guys are still here. Yes, that's what I like to see. Great. Okay. So now for those of you following along in our fun workbook, I'm going to go ahead and switch over. We're going to jump into types of content, and this is going to go quick. Everything that we're going through right now, this is probably a 12-month process. So we're going to cram it into about a half hour. But really the main point is I want you guys thinking in sense of, not just content like, oh, what do I write? What do I say? Really want you thinking about who you are and what stages of the game people are receiving your content as well. All right, so as we jump into types of content, this was one of the pages in the workbook. And jump back over to our share screen. And we'll just kind of jump through this, but if you're looking for ideas, if you're saying, oh man, what the heck, it's Tuesday morning, you guys are having your strategy session in the boardroom, in the coffee room, whatever. And you're like, this is great. We got to get our content out. Well, there are a lot of ways to break it down, right? So there's articles, blog posts, newsletters, interviews are awesome. Maybe you bring in a huge advocate of your organization or a satisfied customer or donor, get them in, do a quick one-on-one. Just get your phone up there, record, a good five minutes of a back and forth and post that up there. Podcasts are a little tricky because you really need to define that as like your own TV show or your own, type of a brand. So I don't jump into those a whole lot, but I do have a couple of clients that they're larger companies. Maybe it's a CEO or a business owner that's very involved in an industry or has some special niche that they want to try to engage with. But if you can master a podcast, or if you're exploring it, I don't want to discourage you, because it's been one of the largest revenue generators or new lead generators that I've seen for businesses, specifically in the last year, and organizations. Because what happens is if you do some sort of a podcast and maybe you invite a guest on, and it could be somebody that you might want to be a donor or a new partner or a new client. I've seen a lot of companies and organizations use that specifically as a tool for getting people to come in and talk about the industry, but it also, it helps develop a stronger future relationship. And then sometimes people reciprocate. So if you have a guest on, maybe they have a podcast and you go on, and it's just a way to kind of get your message out there. Some of the most popular, and we'll kind of talk about today, social posts. Everyone wants to dabble in social media, or is at some point. We'll kind of break that down some more. Videos, images, polls, surveys, and so it really, at any one of these categories, what I would encourage you is, create a blank piece of paper for each of these articles. What can my articles be on? What could my a blog be about? What could a social post be about? And then, surveys. Do we have any surveys that, what do we want to know from our marketplace today? Okay, Tony had a great question on podcasts. How frequent do podcasts need to be effective? Tony, I'd say once a week. And that's kind of a standard for what you see in podcasts. I've seen some as high as four times a week, because it becomes their mainstream of communications. And they're absolute organizations built around a podcast or around a host. So yeah, that's a great question. But I would start with at least once a week. And a great way to even experiment with that is Facebook Live. If you go online, start a live stream. Listen, do it every Wednesday at 3:00 for 10 minutes. And just let the camera roll. Get on there. Obviously have something to do. Don't just eat or work. Although some people do that too. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I would recommend start with that before you then get into the giant $400 microphone that's always sticking in somebody's face, or the backdrop and all of that. Podcasts also are audio and visual. Most podcasts now are videotaped. We used to think of podcasts as an audio only, and that's really not the case anymore. And really, with how easy it is, you should always have the camera rolling. In my opinion, video engagement is still the highest source of return that I've seen in the market, and it just becomes easier because of what we can do with our phones, right? Infographics, that's pretty easy. Maybe a flow chart of, here's where we started and your donations, and this is where we finish. Memes, the little kitten with the sad eye memes. There's a couple popular ones floating around, but there's always ways to kind of see what's fresh in the marketplace and hack those and integrate them. Testimonials before and after, all pretty self-explanatory. So outside of, okay, here's the 14 things that you should be doing. When I go through this, I mean, this really just tells me one thing in the sense of there's a lot of content that we could be producing as organizations and business owners, right? Most of us really just focus on social posts. Let's throw it up there. Hey, maybe some of you have a calendar. This is great. Let's do it. But outside of that, we've identified 13 other possibilities of ways to communicate with people. And that's, again, what I'm trying to stretch everybody's minds with today is like the hardest thing to do when you're like, oh, what do we do with content? What do we, how do we do this? Over time, as you kind of develop this content archive, you are then, it's a lot easier to tap into it. So you're not then constantly just creating content. A lot of times you can repurpose content. And if you write an article, you can absolutely then make it part of your newsletter. You could make it a topic for an interview, for a podcast. You could break it down into a series of social posts. You can make a short video about it. You could take a picture to explain it, right? And so now all of a sudden, these aren't all 14 individual pieces of content. They're really 14 versions of the exact same message that you're trying to get out there, right? Okay. Who's with me? Who's with me so far? We're cruising. I got a thumbs up. Tony's the only one engaging with awesome questions. Great. Okay. Now we're going to go to the fun workbook stages, and we're going to kind of cruise through this. My goal is to get this to about a 9:30, and then we can, maybe do some Q&As, or I can obviously keep talking. That's not an issue, but I want to keep us moving along. So. All right. So making our content work for us, right? So what do we do? What do we use content for? So first is to obviously, well, not obviously, but to handle objections. This is a big thing. You might get a lot of response from people when you're asking for donors or participants or volunteers. Oh, I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I already give money. Well, go out and write an article on why it's important to volunteer for your organization, even if you don't have any time, or what 20 minutes a week will do to benefit your organization as a volunteer. And I'm speaking organizationally today, but this can be applied to any really industry. But have that, and then it makes it easier for us when we communicate. And I do this with my staff all the time. When we're out, writing a contract or looking to close a deal. Well, what's the biggest objection? Well, it's obviously it's money, it's time, it gets deeper and deeper. But what happens is we're not always equipped to be able to answer those tough questions right away. So even having something in your back pocket or quick, email or post or whatever that you could follow up with somebody quickly. Hey, I know you said you didn't have a lot of time. Here's a great article from our director on what, what actual, commitment looks like, here for a volunteer, or where your funds go, things like that. And through that, we are warming up potential prospects. All right, so I could do warm up. I'm gonna write some of this in. Prospects. All right, follow up. Follow up's always a fun one. People are so afraid to follow up when I talk to them about sales and marketing. Always assume, again, nobody heard from you the first time, so it's okay to follow up. You're not going to bug somebody to the point of blowing a deal or getting them to ever want to talk to you again. Chances are they were never going to talk to you anyway. So don't feel that you're going to ruin an opportunity. Oh man, I already talked to him yesterday. I don't want to bother. Well, hey, listen, maybe some, and here's a fun stat. This is a real statistic, and I love throwing this around because it goes up every time I share it. You need 30 points of contact to close a deal these days. Did you know that? 30 points, meaning you need to talk to somebody 30 times before they're actually going to do business with you. Less than 1% of deals are actually closed in the first conversation. And wouldn't that be amazing? I still love that. Oh man, if I ever get a call, I can't wait. I love the idea of closing the deal. And I used to be so frustrated. Why didn't they want to work with me? Well, because they just met, they didn't know me. They just met me. They had no idea what it is I could offer in terms of value, what my, core values are, mission of my company. So, you need to be thinking of that too. With all of the engagement that's going around, we, millions of messages being posted every minute on social media, like tens of millions of emails going out an hour. You're not going to break the internet, and you're not going to be the first person to, send multiple communications to somebody. And really, sometimes that's what it takes. Have you ever made a decision based on the follow-up of somebody to you? I know I have. Maybe I kind of forgot about something, and 2 weeks later I hear from somebody, and next day, get a text or something, and all of a sudden now, it's getting me thinking about the organization more. Sure. Listen, if there's a match between what you have to offer and a benefit to the recipient of your content or your message, there's absolutely a reason to engage those people on a more, regular basis. Now, if you're selling encyclopedias and, going door to door, things like that, it's a little different. But what we're talking about is matching up who you are as an organization and developing content to people that can benefit from it. Right. So the more content that you put out there, you're absolutely going to get more engagement. This is just a fun, like there's an absolute direct correlation. And the fun thing that I always like to share with people is, if you don't post or share anything, you have 100% chance of somebody not hearing you. And so that's why you can't worry too much about, again, did they get the email? Should I, should I get another, English major to come back and edit my work for me? No, don't sit around too much and overthink it, because you really have to, on top of developing the content, you absolutely have to get it out there. Right. And then we promote products, events, and services, right? This is pretty straightforward. Okay, so here's the fun stuff. All right, where do we start? I'm going to give you guys 3 things to take away of fun content pieces to utilize. So one is going to be numbered lists, and I'm going to kind of talk through these things with you really quick, and then how-tos. These are, let me talk about the gap method. All right, so numbered lists. And how-tos are the highest forms of engagement. We see them all the time. Social media, 3 ways to save money. 10 biggest mistakes that all marketers make. The 5 most expensive cars you'll see this year. 22 most effective soups for the cold, for the cold season. We see them all the time. Now, what I can tell you is when you are looking for a starting place at your organization, I encourage you guys to start here, because those still seem to have the highest engagement results. Now, it doesn't mean every day you should be posting a numbered list, or I will come over to your organization and talk to you guys about that if I see them all the time. But what I'm getting at is, if you're jammed up, if you want a place to start, that's a great way to do it. And even for yourselves, right? So I kind of included this in the workbook, and then for some of your takeaways, here's some great, just write down 3. You don't have to do it now, but we can absolutely, as a team, you guys can get together. Hey, what are three top lists that we could kind of play around with today? Last, and then how to's, right? How to run a successful business, how to save time, for you and your family, how to save the world. You think of it. You guys all have specific messages, right? How to grow your business. It's again, now you guys should be seeing some patterns here, but the how to's and the number lists, I'd say are the biggest takeaways I throw in for you guys. And then when we talk about the GAP method, anybody ever heard of the GAP method? Oh, we got chat. Oh, where can we get the workbook? We'll send this back out. There was an email that went out this morning, and we can absolutely, like I said, I'll just kind of send out a finished version so you guys can have this. You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, just to follow up, Rich, I sent that out about 8:40, 8:45 this morning. So check your emails.
Great. And then another just another like tip as you are developing. This is called the GAP method. It's get attention, ask about a problem, and then you solve it with an offer. So attention, problem, and promise. You promise to solve it. That's the P. And what I mean by that, so, and again, very standard in communications and marketing. Each time, this is kind of how you structure your content and your message. So this is a fun one. I saw, dads, did you know that 91% of bonding time with your children happens between the ages of 0 and 12? Wonder Dads offers planned activities to make the most out of the bonding time with your kids. Click the link below to get access to memorable moments with your kids. Or, hey, students, eliminate student debt forever. Are you drowning in debt? Debt relief has been here for 10 years. Click below for your free debt assessment. So for each of your organizations, that's what I mean by get attention. You see those a lot. So sometimes you have to say, hey, lawyers or community leaders, business owners, are you helping? Are you doing your due diligence for the community? Whatever, but as you go through, as you kind of break down your content, you're now hitting people in those stages of the customer journey as well, to where you're speaking directly to them. So it does have a a higher effective, rate when it comes to that. So, hey, moms, women, dads, men, firefighters, something now all of a sudden, okay, I know that this is for me. Okay, and then the last most fun question, and these are baby steps, by the way, guys. There's obviously a lot to go, but when we talk about how often should we be posting, what should we be doing? This is a starting point. So this is a weekly breakdown of what's suggested as a starting point, by the way. Times this by 3 or 4, and you get where most of the high level operators are at, in terms of the content space, email space, and so what I mean by that is, and let's just see it. I mean, anyone want to share who's sending out an email a day to their target audiences? Anybody? How about 2 Facebook posts a day? So, this is where it challenges you guys in the content stream, because now we're not just talking about content. Now we're getting into more of like the promotion and sales side of, why aren't you doing a LinkedIn post a day or a YouTube video a week? Is it too much? Does it, are you afraid that you're going to annoy somebody, that they're going to ignore, they're going to all of a sudden unfollow you or unsubscribe? Listen, who's ever unsubscribed from something and then resubscribed to it? Have you guys ever done that before, where you get so bombarded with a message and you're like, I can't take this, I'm gonna unsubscribe from this, but then 3 weeks later you need to buy something and you're like, oh, okay, I better get back on the list just in case. So, if your organization, if your content, has relevance to these people, they're absolutely going to find a way to engage with you. And look at who's posting, or anyway, or who's following you anyway. Chances are, for all of us, nobody is going to really engage our content the way we want it to. It doesn't mean don't do it, because there's always people watching, but you're not automatically going to go from 2 to 3 likes to 500 or 1,000. That's not what this is about. This is about creating a flow of information and communications that people can then still go and tap into. So when they do learn about your organization, maybe they do search your Facebook and they kind of get an idea of the type of messages and stories that you're sharing. And allows them to kind of continue in their customer journey. So when I, and for me, so this weekly plan, by the way, this is what we've been working towards, even for my company. These are our targets. We don't always hit them, but what I found is, as I kind of got my staff on board with how to engage and how to publish and create material, the more we do it, the absolute easier it's becoming. And there's nothing that says that, if you do a series of posts in the first week of October, that you can't repurpose those, maybe clean them up a little bit and then use them in the middle of November. You know what I mean? So that's what I was talking about with the content archive. And there's, and again, people won't do that. Well, we've already posted that. What if it, do you really think somebody in November is going to go back and say, hey, listen, you posted this in October. What's going on? I don't, if that is, you're not going to win anyway. If you absolutely have somebody doing that, it really doesn't matter what you post. They're out to get you. So, with that said, that's basically what I wanted to touch with you guys on today. Maybe we'll, as I go through this, there are absolutely so many, important, takeaways when it comes to content specifically, but even just, getting into like the 14 points, why do we use it? Each one of these is a master class, but I really just wanted to kind of give you guys a quick introduction into what we're seeing in the communications world in the market right now in terms of message development strategy and how it's supposed to be executed. And I really hope it's just kind of pushed you guys to think a little bit more about, how you could be engaging and really pushing your limits to the frequency of what you should be doing here, because this is hard. You know, one email a week is hard for people, for organizations. So to now get in the mindset of, oh my gosh, we need to be doing it every day, but be thinking in those mindset, because if you're not doing it, somebody else is doing it to get that message out there. So any okay, we got some questions. Thanks everybody. And you know, Judy and I here, like, if you just have a follow-up, need some of the materials, whatever, you didn't write it down, we'll get it to you. So is Facebook boosting worth the cost? Great question. I absolutely believe it is. So I was just at a conference in Miami talking about social outreach and engagement. And what I noticed, or my biggest takeaway from the presenters was, they're all saying now that social media is set up to where only success is only achieved through paid promotions now. So, and I'm going to give you the example. So if you have 10,000 followers on Facebook or on Twitter or whatever, each post is only going to engage about 3% of your audience or less at a maximum. Meaning, so if you post something, it's not going to hit all 10,000 of your people. The algorithm's already set up to where you're only going to hit a small group of it. So what do you do? So you post more, right? So, okay, so now I'm going to do 10, 15 posts, and maybe I'll reach a larger part of my audience, but it absolutely is now getting to where, you know, a paid endorsement or a paid follow-up, you know, has a lot to do with your engagement. So even for me, videos, stories that I put up, I'll usually throw like 20, 30, $50 behind it. I heard another stat. If you get into the promotion side, to be fully effective on a Facebook scale on spend is somewhere between like $60 and $70 a day. You know, that's a couple grand a week or a month. So, you know, just, you know, so if you're thinking about running ads, that's the competitive baseline of what I've heard. I'm doing more of it in terms of like even how I promote, like everything that I sell or do in advertising, I try to do in my own business. And Facebook, I never really got into the paid side for me. And now we're doing more of it. And I've noticed it's, you know, engagements are up, but I can't say, okay, wow, now my sales are up $3 million. But if you haven't done anything in a while, you should totally sign up a credit card, throw 10, $15 behind those posts, and give yourself a chance to enhance those messages. Oh, I got a question. I mentioned a book that I based the training off of. Can you share the title? Oh, so I don't have any one specific book. I have, I literally have like 40 marketing workbooks, and I just kind of pull bits and pieces out of all of it. So it's not like how to advertise or how to market. It's Google, you know, I always say Google. That's it. When my team has a question, like Google it, you can find anything you want on there. But in terms of even those aspects of the journey, you know, keep going back to your mission statement, core values. I always, the more you define that and review it as an organization, it becomes easier to put that concept together. Cool. We good? Everybody else? Judy, can you hear me? Okay. Okay, Lindsay. Okay, this is great. So promoting an event. Yeah, that's always a tricky one, Lindsay, because you obviously don't want to start too early because you're competing with other events. I ran into this with the Berlin Fair and the all the fall fairs that were coming up. At a couple of those fair groups that I worked with, and those are all massive weekend events. And the problem is, if you start promoting 4 weeks ahead of time, you're competing with the Durham Fair, Wallingford, New Britain, and so I would start by looking at what other events are going on at that time, and seeing, you know, are you countering any, you know, town events, chamber events, whatever. And, but still, you know, but I would say 2 weeks. Judy, do you guys have a schedule for how long out you promote your events?
Not hard and fast. No, probably depends on the scope of it. We try to keep our big community events out there at all times, right? So it's hard to say. I would say at least 3 weeks if something's coming up.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. And I would start with what else is going on out there, or even to save the date, right? Like, hey, you know, get that out. And then it just kind of opens the
Yeah.
way for you to do some
Or we'll
follow-ups.
start to do some, teasers type things like, guess what's coming up, or don't miss this, or, some photos or videos or whatever it is, to kind of gauge interest or build it up.
Yeah, but you know, even with the so I help the fire department with the golf tournament every year, and that was a big discussion that came up. Like, how far out should we be booking it, doing it? And hey, 12 months, you know, why not? Let them know. Hey, listen, same time
I
next
don't
year.
think you can be too early. I really
Yeah,
don't.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's more about, you know, the logistics of the event. Do you need a certain head count, you know, food, all that? But you know, if you have a location and a time set, hey, start telling people. I mean, it's better than, oh, well, no one told me about the event. You know what I mean? You know, just get it out there as much as you can. And again, that's going back to the rule of, you know, assume that nobody saw it or received it the first time. You know, it's okay to be pushy.
Rich, do you have any thoughts, or can you talk a little bit about the different audiences on these platforms? I mean, we struggle with that. We struggle a little bit with how people want to receive the information, right? And where they're looking.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, just maybe your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So that's a great one. So there were two points of data I came across in the last couple months on Facebook versus like YouTube. And one being, you know, Facebook, you know, people are at maybe, you know, they're waiting to get their oil changed, or they're out there, you know, kind of at the grocery store. They're just kind of doing a quick, you know, standing in line, shooting through. So their attention span's very, very short. YouTube, they're showing the average engagement still like at like 30 to 40 minutes. You know, so like how-to videos, informational pieces. So you know, so almost think of it like that. You know, how are people engaging? So are you going to take your life's mission or your life's work or full product description and put it up on Facebook? Is that, you know, with that short attention span, is that really going to be the right place for it? You know, so things like that I would be considering. My main strategy lately has been getting people to a landing page or a web page or a website for more information, versus just trying to get it all out there at once, right? That's always been a big challenge. So kind of just, you know, think of, hey, what are we going to do to get that attention? Hey, dads, listen up. Here's how your son can hit a home run at the next game. Click here. You know, you could put an end to, you know, hunger if you follow this link. Listen, it's extreme, but it gets attention. It gets people to that next stage. And they kind of talk about breaking those habits. The death scroll, right? Have you guys ever heard of the death scroll, where you're just scrolling, just kind of going through? And so you need to kind of keep coming up with content that's going to break those habits. So don't be afraid to take chances. And that's the thing. You're not going to, in the history of Facebook, you know, offend anybody with taking a chance in your content. And if you do, there's nothing wrong with using that as an opportunity to start a conversation. You know, and I'm not saying now go ahead and start promising things that you can't deliver on, but find, you know, what are ways, you know, to engage. Hey, here's our executive director in a dunk tank. You know, we're going to live stream. Everybody that live streams in is one free shot at our executive director today. Or I don't know.
That will be Tony. Tony will do that.
Yeah, why not? It- no, but it has to be different. And if you kind of get into the same old, Snoresville content, I mean, I do it too. That's what you're going to get out of it. So you need to be thinking now, and then that's the challenge. Not only is it now up to you to come up with 14 different versions of content for each, category and each target audience, but then you have to try to find a way to really make it stick. But that's okay. It's okay to take chances. And I don't know. I always equate it to, did you ever leave a meeting or get off a call and you're like, man, I should have said that, or darn it, I knew the deal wasn't going to happen. I just kind of kept my mouth shut. So social and content and outreach like this is the way, this is the place to do that. Give yourself a little bit of a chance to build up that confidence on how to communicate and get those like different messages out there. Because again, chances are no one's going to see it. No one's going to respond. The likelihood, when you're talking about 1-2% conversion rates across all platforms, that means, you have, hundreds of people not even seeing your content in the first place, let alone now do they have a reason to engage in it. So that's why it's important to get the frequency up and feel comfortable playing around with, different versions of your message.
Yeah, important, but at the same time, it's also overwhelming, right? You want to get out there as much as you can, but there's only so many hours in the day, as they say. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle for a lot of organizations and businesses to figure out that balance.
And Carla, I see your, I'm going to answer Carla's question here, but yeah, getting to the timing of it. Absolutely. I pulled up, I couldn't really find a calendar that I like. We kind of made one. I mean, if you just Google content calendars, HubSpot has one, but really it's just a days of the week calendar. And you just start kind of plugging in. Monday is a poll, Tuesday is a blog, Thursday is a podcast, Friday is a YouTube video. And if I can find a better example of that, I'll circulate it out to the group. Okay. Oh, and then, yeah, in that, I mean, that's where it's important too. Yeah. Like who's going to be putting it out there? Virtual assistants are a big thing in the marketplace right now. Go online. I heard you can get them for like $400 a month. I'm actually exploring them for my business just to, if you produce the content, the execution side and the timing side is still tough. So you can subscribe to a platform that allows you to maybe pre-plan it. Those cost money. People cost, I mean, it all costs money. I mean, but virtual assistants are definitely one thing to be looking at in terms of the execution side on it, or because there are actually even it doesn't have to even be overseas, but like Fiverr is another one. You go online and you could post, hey, I'm a nonprofit, we're looking for somebody to do our social. Somebody might respond to you from Colorado and say, hey, I'll do it for you for $300 a month. And I've seen a lot of success stories come out of that. Okay, so tone from Carla. What are your thoughts on tone? They attract attention. Are they funny or snappy? I don't want to be insensitive. We deal with very serious topics for folks. I get it. Yeah. So housing. Yeah. So you're saying, can you be too funny? Can you be, offensive to people? Again, I can't tell you the right or wrong. All I can tell you is that if you're not willing to get people's attention, right, that you've already failed on your delivery goal objective. So if you're, I met a gentleman, he worked in, he trains political activists all over the country. And his tagline was, we help overthrow governments or something. It was just something absurd. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, that makes no sense to me. And I was offended by that. But honestly, to him, that wasn't even, it was to get the attention to have the discussion about, why it's important. So, there are absolute ways to tie in humor. But test it out. Hey, listen, post it. If someone gets offended, don't do it again. That's what I would say. Canva for social media calendar, create engaging posts. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we use Canva as well. It's a great source for being able to repurpose your content, reformat it, and link all of your different social accounts. Absolutely, we do that. Canva's awesome. Facebook, Instagram. Yep. Scheduling features on Instagram and Facebook. Absolutely. Going through that. And so when we get into the execution side, there are a lot of ways to do it. But that's where I would say, just to keep track of it, you need some sort of master calendar, or you could, if it is just Facebook, you can put it in there. But remember, we're also sending out emails, setting up times for maybe a Facebook Live, text. We didn't even get into texting. That's a whole nother world. But so yeah, absolutely. Inside of some of these features, but if you're just posting in Facebook, and Twitter, think of all the other platforms. TikTok. I mean, I added TikTok to my business finally. I got so many people asking me, and I'm like, I don't want to do it. I'm over it already. I've never even gotten into it. And, we finally jumped into it because it's a main hub now for video content to then be able to share onto other platforms. So, if you're not on TikTok, if you're not using LinkedIn, if you don't have a YouTube channel, listen, these are all free. I mean, you should, why wouldn't you? None of us is too good for any of these things. And you have different audiences on each channel, right? So if you're just hitting Facebook and 50% of your audience is coming from Facebook, that's great. Where's the other 50% coming out from? So you need to be thinking of it in those terms of, why aren't you using these other platforms? Is it time? I don't know it. It's not for me. Yeah. Listen, I have no clue about TikTok. That's why I have people here to do that. I mean, and I set up a TikTok account. I linked everything, and I personally can't log into it. I don't know, but luckily people in my office can. And so, but that's what I mean. That's where you can't do any of this stuff alone, but you should absolutely be exploring them as an option, especially for an organization where funds, resources, all that are limited. Add on as many of those free channels as possible. And it starts, I was going to kind of, I like doing this with people lately where I make everybody, kind of, do a quick video or whatever, but your phone, even just getting a quick, hey, I'm doing a workshop this morning on engaging content, meeting with some great people in the community. It's really giving me some good ideas on how I can engage with you. Boom, save it, post it. That's your content. That's it. Is it silly? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But you're getting yourself used to doing this on a more frequent basis, and you're getting out of your own way of, oh man, what do I say? How did I look? Are my headphones stupid? My AirPods weren't charged, by the way, so I'm on my backup giant headphones. So whatever. But that's to me, that's content. It's a video piece. I could post it. Maybe someone gets a laugh out of it, and then you move on. You're going to move on to the next one. These are going to keep getting pushed down in the feed, and no one's probably ever going to see it again. So that's why it's important. Thanks, Carla. Great to see you. Great to see all of you guys. Shoot. I don't know, Judy, if anyone has any questions, definitely, shoot me an email. We'll get as much of this back out to you guys too, if you can use it as a resource or a guide. But that's my take on where things are. So I hope you guys got some good info out of this. And now go out, go put it to work. Start messing around. Go send an email out today. Do a Facebook Live. I would love to see some Facebook Lives from you guys.
Well, thank you so much, Rich. This has been great. If you have any other questions, shoot them my way and we'll get them to Rich, or shoot them directly to Rich. Tony, do you want to say a few things before we wrap up? Or?
I can unmute. There we go. See, that's lesson number one. Always learn how to unmute. Rich, I just want to thank you so much. It's been so informative. And I want to thank Heather for putting this all together. It's been great.
Great.
everybody.
Again, remember this
Happy
group.
to have made that connection.
Oh, go ahead.
I said I'm happy to have been able to make that connection.
I told Heather it's on her if I absolutely bomb this session. So
You didn't.
No, you didn't. You did well. The headphones look good, the headphones look good, by the way.
yeah.
And remember, this group meets the second Tuesday of the month at 9 o'clock, and we've been virtual for a while. So we're still discussing what to do about that, but put it on your calendars, and I hope to see you again next month.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
See you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.